Hello everybody, it's what is it? Yeah, it's the 18th of November and it's a beautiful sunny day here in the UK. Well, actually the weather forecast said it was going to be pretty horrible in other parts of the country, but down here in the southwest it's a beautiful sunny day. And I'm just looking at some of these my Lonicera, potato, I guess. It's a shrubby honeysuckle, and this particular one I'm trying to grow in a sort of broadleaf style tree, not an informal upright, more of a natural sort of shape. Let me just pop in the ubiquitous can for scale and give you a bit of a turnaround. I've just let this grow the last couple of months, and you can tell from the back view that it's been sat on a bench with the fence at its back, and as a result is looking a little bit sparse, so I'm going to have to turn it around on the bench a bit more often. But all I'm going to do is I've just been trimming this and trying to get it to grow in a more natural style. They're not particularly fast growers, which can make them a bit slow to develop in terms of trees, but it also means that once you've got one developed to where you want it, and I'll show you something, a different tree of the same species but grown in an entirely different style in a moment. So yeah, it's a fine line between what I'm doing and topiary, I guess. What I don't want is to make it look like topiary, but I've also developed this species into a more traditional informal upright style, which again I will show you. Sometimes it's nice to try different styles with the same species and see which ones suit what, if that makes sense. So yeah, I kind of like this. I haven't been putting much wire on it or anything because as a general rule they grow very stiff and they don't bend well, but I think I'm going to try putting a weight on this particular branch as I've done before. And again, this is an old broken trampoline spring, and yeah, maybe a little bit further out along the branch. That's better. That's just pulling it down that little bit more. Yeah. It'll set and then it'll probably spring back up once I take the pardon the pun, once I take the weight off. But yeah, I quite like that, and I can see it beginning to form that kind of canopy of a broadleaf oak or something when seen at a distance. I'm definitely going to have to put it back on the bench facing this way to get the back to fill out some more. Sometimes that's an issue when you haven't got oceans of space. So I will go and get a different tree of the same species and show you what I mean by different styles. This one I've been growing obviously as a twin trunk tree, but I've been growing it more in the sort of traditional style of a pine. I've let it get quite shaggy. I'm not sure about this central branch at all. I think I might lose it. But if I reduce the shagginess, you will see what I mean about growing foliage paths in the way that you might a pine. And then there's a kind of a danger that these become almost more topiary because you're just trimming back to the pad each time, and I'm finding them less interesting, which is why I'm trying to do the broadleaf tree, which I showed you earlier, because you know, every couple of months during the summer you can just give this tree a bit of a trim back, and each time the pads develop a little further. But I'm not sure it's particularly exciting. I know I could definitely improve this apex, but one of the great beauties with this species, however, is the small leaves. They work very well. Because you don't have to try and bring down the leaf size in any way, shape or form. But they are prone to a bit of dieback from time to time. Most of this branch at the back here has died off, and this one wasn't facing the wall. But never mind. We keep going, and as I said earlier, it's nice to have different styles of the same species, because it gives you a bit of a contrast, and you can also see which ones work best. This branch, actually it works better from this angle. With that I can then create that as a back branch. Yeah. Okay, there's a thought. As I've said before, I decide what I'm going to do. Today I want to make a video, so what am I going to make a video about, or what trees do I want to work on? I want to work on my Lonicera, potato. I don't always know exactly where that's going to take me, because I have set ideas for some trees, not so set for others, and I think you've just witnessed the birth of a new friend. There you go. Okay, let's move the camera, because the next tree I'm going to show you I've been working on in a similar vein to this one, but for much longer. This one I've only been working on for a couple of years. It had just been left to grow in the ground and chopped back every now and again until I had something a bit thicker. Okay, so I've decamped to a different part of the garden for this one. Apologies, it's not so clear to see without the plain background, but this is another tree that I've been growing for a long time, and again, it's grown in the sort of pine, informal upright side branch pad, next branch, up branch, lower branch, back branch, etc., etc., just like the books taught me to do in the beginning. And I thought, oh, I do like this tree. It's by no means a favourite. Every now and again the branches need some thinning because they get too fat, but I do like the trunk, which is a good solid piece of wood, as big as my hand. I did carve it, and I'm quite pleased with the way that came out as well. So it's a kind of love it, hate it type of tree, and that sort of relationship I have with it. It is in many ways a little boring, I have to confess. Let me know what you think down in the comments, but as I say, it's just every few months I just need to come and give it a haircut. Take out all the bits that are growing straight down, straight up, and growing back, etc. So let me see if I can't move it on the bench. The wood's very wet and it is very heavy. I became more and more interested in bigger trees, but the problem with bigger trees is they weigh a ton. I know the Japanese have a sort of two-man carry category in size, although the exact term for that escapes me. But definitely some of my trees, I think if I wanted to move this to the turntable to work on, it would have to be on a day when my daughter was visiting, so I could get her to give me a hand, because I really wouldn't want to drop it and smash this lovely pot, or damage the tree, even though I do find it a little boring. Okay, so I can't give you a proper twirl, but you get the idea with that. I do it left-handed. Yes, just. As I can't give you a proper twirl, I'll move the camera. Hopefully I won't make you all feel terribly, terribly seasick, but yeah. So those are the kind of traditional style tree. As I say, I love the trunk, but I still have some doubts. It's like, no, I don't hate it, but I am a little bit bored by it. Does that make sense? Let me know. Okay, so I'm going to finish off with this particular tree, which I was inspired to create by Nigel Saunders. With, I think it was a Sarissa that he had grown in the style of a African Savannah type tree. And I've been gradually raising the top of this tree to expose these superb branches underneath, so that it begins to look more like an acacia or something. Sometimes this one, well, does particularly feel a bit like topiary in that I'm trimming it to keep this shape, but it's also, you know, I am raising the canopy every now and again, and taking out pieces like this that are growing up along and straight, and those aren't what I want. So if you're not careful with something like this, it's going to sort of shade out some important parts, so you do need to remove odd pieces like that every now and again, which is, you know, just keeps it a little bit more interesting rather than it simply being a snip 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 haircut. You also need, at this time of year, although it's an evergreen, or semi-evergreen I should say, because it will lose all of its leaves if we have a hard enough winter. Again, just taking out silly straight pieces that are growing the wrong way, and keeping the canopy full. And I was starting to say there's a lot of yellow leaves where it's losing some of its old leaves, and shedding them naturally, so they can get caught in the foliage, which, as I say, can be quite dense, and you get these bits, and then of course they could rot, and that could spread disease, so it's not a bad idea to take some time and shake them out. So there you have it. Shrubby honeysuckle, Lonicera Nitida, if I didn't say that at the beginning. Get rid of that moss. Blessed stuff. It also has a nice interesting peeling bark, so yes, it's got a lot for it, and you can pick it up quite cheap at the garden centre, and if you've got some time to let it grow in the ground, you can start to get a relatively thick trunk. So that's it for this one. Please do all the usual YouTube things, the liking, the subscribing, the commenting. Let me know down below what you think about my efforts to create a broadleaf tree, or whether you think this is bonsai or topiary. I won't be offended, even if I don't agree with you. I won't be offended. Thank you so much for watching. Please take care of yourselves. Stay safe, everybody.